September 17th, 2025. And we'll begin with a roll call of the commission, starting over here on my left.
Wendy Allman.
Jeff Ringer.
I'm Eric Carter.
David Ammett.
Susan Kruger Barber.
Scott Bingham.
All right. I think we just have one item to hear today. Ashley Jefferies requests a Landmarks Certificate of Appropriateness for the modification restoration of a historic sign in the DT1 General Downtown Zone located at 286 West Center Street. And we'll turn the time to Dustin Wright with the city.
All right, thank you. So this item is taking a look at this property here at 286 West Center Street. This is in our historic downtown district here in Provo on Center Street here. The facade you can see on the right hand of the screen. The applicant is requesting a modification to that sign that we can see there. And kind of some background on reasoning behind that is there's a state rule that when there's a pharmacy that closes, one of the requirements that they have is to remove any signage that refers to pharmacy or related wording. So drugs and RX and things like that that could have someone believe that there's still a pharmacy there, I guess is the language in that rule. So for the property owner, they're looking to make sure they're complying with that. Since this isn't a historic district and signage is something that's on the exterior of the building that's has to go through our Landmarks Commission for Certificate of Appropriateness. That's what's before you today, is to see if modifying to remove those words that are in that state rule, if it is determined to have the signage removed, altered. Those are the things that the applicant is looking for feedback from you as far as being able to move forward with that. So got a few different images here so we can just kind of see what that signage looks like. It's got neon sign lighting that lights up at night. And this is the other side of it. And then here's an older image from 1973 showing the signage. The changes that I noted there from what it probably currently is to what it was on the bottom there. It says fountain. And then below that, it doesn't have that medical supplies oxygen sign there. So that's more of a newer one. So, and then the applicant has put together some AI renderings of what potentially could replace those words that the state rule is wanting removed. So pharmacy and drugs and the such. So that's kind of what we're looking at with this item. Are there any questions that you have for me?
Dustin, could you clarify, is this a completely new, the signing that's extending from the building, is that a completely new sign or a modified sign in these renderings?
So we can probably, that'd be a great question for the applicant.
Okay.
I'm guessing that they were kind of drawn up to just kind of illustrate
Okay.
what maybe changing that looks like. I don't know if her intent is to modify the sign to look exactly like these. I don't believe that's the case, but we can verify that with the applicant.
Thank you.
And that kind of is one of the reasons I wanted to, in the recommendation, the staff report, was to continue this item as opposed to approve or deny, was to be able to give her that feedback as far as where she should invest her energy and time in moving forward with this if we feel as a Landmarks Commission that the signage should stay, but those words should be replaced with such and such word, then she can get that feedback, go and make some changes and come back and show us what that would look like.
Dustin, I have a question. Are there any other renovations on the building? Because what I'm seeing right here shows that the B&H Place sign occupies or bridges the gap of 3 window bays. But the historic one bridges 4. Are we changing anything on the facade, or is this an artifact of AI?
I think that's a great question to ask the applicant as well. I'm not 100% sure. My guess would be that it's just, this was how AI produced it to just kind of help illustrate what changing the pharmacy with another word is. That's something we can clarify as well.
I have a question too. I remember reading in your summary, there was maybe the potential for this rule to be changing soon. Do you have any more insight on that?
Yeah, so I think the applicant would prefer to be able to keep it in its current state. And so I've given her some ideas of maybe ways she can pursue trying to find some help in changing that. But that's not a guarantee that that will get changed. But that is the preference is that it could, that there could be an exception granted for historic signages in a historic district or something like that, to be able to keep that signage as it is. That's typically the goal with historic preservation. If you're trying to preserve something, to be able to keep it as it originally was. And so if there wasn't that state rule, then that would probably be the recommendation, would be to not change any wording, but to keep it
as is. But there's not currently a petition kind of under consideration.
There's
by the
not.
state.
We've just given her we said it would be okay to cover that while you maybe pursue trying to get that state rule changed or exception granted.
And I apologize if this was in your summary, but does the legislation indicate a certain time period within which the pharmacy has to be removed once it's no longer used for that purpose?
Yeah, it doesn't give a time period. Essentially, it says that the pharmacist needs to remove it or notify the property owner, which they've done. The property owner is aware of it. And it just says, let the property owner know that having that signage is unlawful, but it doesn't give any code that shows where it is unlawful. It doesn't give a time frame or anything like that.
Okay. Any other questions for Dustin? Anybody else? Okay. We'll now recognize the applicant, if you wouldn't mind coming forward. You have 15 minutes of your time. We'd also ask that you state your full name and city of residence for the record.
This is my first time, so thanks for your help. Ashley Jefferies. I'm a resident of American Fork City. I'm the owner of the historic building at 286 West on Center Street. Proud owner. Happy to be a part of his just maintaining our historic buildings. So unexpectedly, our pharmacist closed his doors after pharmacy operating there for over 80 years. Again, we had no notice, so we're trying to just navigate this unexpected change. My goal is to navigate some conflicting interests in the sign's future in a way that preserves the signage in the most historically accurate way possible, fully acknowledging that our current situation mandates that the sign be removed entirely. So my goal is to, I've worked with Dustin a bit on trying to get some resources we're located right next to Esplin Waite, and I have some attorney friends over there that recommended I seek some connections with the legislature to change the law at the state level. That is outside of my realm of experience, so that's something new we're exploring. But again, my goal is to find a way to allow the signage to stay with either minor modifications or no modifications. I would like both signs to try to stay. Anyway, that would be my goal. I guess to answer some of your questions, AI is very imperfect. But yeah, it sometimes comes up with weird modifications, but you're right. There's 4 windows. It will stay 4 windows. The blade sign, both signs. There are 3 problematic words in the signage: pharmacy, RX, and drugs. And so we had just looked at different options to possibly replace those words if we can't get a change in the state law, to something that would be relatively historically significant: B&H building, B&H place, mercantile, something that kind of keeps a historic feel. I've been talking with some sign restoration companies to make sure that it would be restored in a quality and appropriate way. We want to keep the neon signage, the neon letters, and they're pink right now. I love that. We would probably keep them pink. And so we're trying to keep as much of it original as possible. But again, my preference would be to be able to keep both signs, the blade sign and the flat sign. One concern that has been brought up with exploring new tenants in the space, because we're finding that the space is more appealing to a non-pharmacy. So it'll probably, we'll probably have a retail tenant move in. As you can see with the image on the far left, well, all of them, if we keep both signs, there's not really a lot of space for a new tenant to put their signage up, which is why we were thinking about potentially having like an LED sign there so that somebody who is occupying B&H place could put, some advertising or something that would say, ABC retail or whatever it is, and find the happy balance of the two. So that was our goal in kind of the LED word, is that we wouldn't have to cover up any other beautiful parts of the building with any other signage, that we could really keep both and allow a new tenant to have their business name up in a visible way. So I know it's kind of pulls us away from the historical nature of it. We're just trying to kind of bridge that gap there. So at least you can kind of see our intent with making the fewest modifications possible, but also making it so that the new tenant can also feel at home and add value to the downtown area. So outside of that, I think that's kind of where we're at. Again, my goal is to do everything possible to maintain the sign. I was a Provo resident for 10 years before I moved away. I absolutely adore the downtown area. And I have a lot of friends that spend a lot of time downtown. So I just know the removal of this sign would be a big deal to the community. I know that. It's one of the only historic signs left on Center Street, really. And my tax practice operates on the 2nd floor. And when I tell people where we're located, and I say we're located in the B&H Pharmacy building, do you know where that is? Most people say yes. And so I feel like it really is truly a landmark of the downtown area, and it would be an absolute travesty to me if we couldn't find a balance of figuring out a way to keep it, but I don't know, give it an opportunity to modify with this unexpected change with the pharmacy going out of business. So yeah, that's at least the starting point. I'm trying to make some connections in the legislative area to see who can help us with maybe taking this next step because I don't know what that process looks like. I know I'd asked Dustin for some resources and maybe, I don't know if the commission has resources or what value you could help with there, but that's kind of the next step is determining if the sign can stay as it is, or if it does need to be modified to stay and how the commission feels about modifications. So I guess that's it. I don't know if you guys have additional questions. I'm happy to answer those.
Yes, thank you. That's our next step is to
Okay.
open the time for questions from the commission.
Great.
Scott.
I'll go first. On a scale of 1 to 10, how sad would you be if you lost the drugs sign? Like just the letters.
Oh, the letters?
Yeah, just the letters, but keep the rest of that space open. I'm thinking about where you would put the next person's logo or sign.
Yeah. I mean, I'm prepared if they leave. I would be like 6 or 7 out of 10. I'd be sad. I love
Okay.
them as they are, but I'm aware that it will probably require modification. I've been prepared for that. So
Okay, now this is, okay, the next question would be, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how to interpret the code. But it says that pharmacy cannot be on the sign. Is that what the state code says? And does it govern the spelling of that word?
oh,
Can
That's
you
a great
replace
question.
the Y with an IE
IE?
and keep everything the same? How many
That's-
people would recognize that slight change, which would allow you to keep the entire sign up?
Huh. I believe the code specifically says the word pharmacy and other pharmacy related words, I think is what the code says.
Which we would assume is RX, right?
RX and drugs.
So if you were to do an REX
Yeah. Well, and I'd even thought.
or an
one-
R.X.
Yeah, I'm willing to contact the Department of Labor. I
Yeah.
wanted to speak with you first, so that I kind of have an idea of what your thoughts were. I'd even thought about simply having, as a part of the restoration of the sign, having like a what's it called? Not calligraphy, but like anyway, like
Some form of font.
yeah, to say like historical or historically, or if they would accept that. But it sounds like according to the code, they're very focused on just the fact that the words are still there.
Just the word.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but this is where the legislation might come in, that if certain conditions are met, maybe they would allow something like that. So yeah, I guess that's where I'm still trying to navigate
Yeah.
what would be allowed.
Well, because
I need to back way up, I guess. Oh, sorry. I just jumped right into the weeds. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining me there.
Yeah.
I would be totally in favor of keeping the sign. That would be, because you said something really key. It's a landmark. And everybody knows where the pharmacy sign is. And if you're a new business, that is like
Huge.
huge, right? Like, wow, the pharmacy's gone? What's there now? So I
Mhm.
think it would be huge.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's kind of what my thought was too. If you could possibly just keep the part that's coming out, I know there's a name for it, and just possibly be able to put above it, like you said, even in neon letters or that same font,
Mhm.
the historic B&H Pharmacy building. And then because of that maybe, and then obviously a business that comes in is going to want to have their name on the front. But if that was just, that sign that's coming out just stays part of it because it is a historic landmark. Yeah, but yeah, I'm definitely in favor of all of it staying.
Yeah, thank you.
Excuse me. I just wanted to say, if you're willing to exchange information after the meeting, I'd like to try to help change the law or get an
Fantastic.
exception. So,
Great.
that's what I can offer to the conversation.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
2 quick questions. One, I'm assuming this, but I want to hear you say it. Your pharmacist left. So it's not your intention to try to find another pharmacist to occupy the space?
We have tried, and so
Okay.
did the pharmacist. He
Okay.
tried to sell the business, but I think he had waited too long. And it became a crisis to close, really. We were given 10 days notice
Oof.
of his closure.
Yeah.
And I think it was just like he had to stop the bleeding. And so he had tried to sell it. We've put it out there, but we're kind of just keeping our options open just to leave it available for whatever the next.
So right now you don't see that as a likely alternative as another pharmacist
No.
comes in. So that's why we're going down this path.
We've had zero interest from
Okay.
existing pharmacies.
Fair enough. Second question, as you've heard, the city has recommended we continue this item to give you more time to work on it. Are you comfortable with that decision?
Yeah, I think it's necessary. I appreciate you still taking the time to hear me out today because I think it helps me navigate the next steps. But as Dustin mentioned, I think the next step is going to be at some point, the state will probably mandate that the sign, the problematic wording be covered
Mhm.
or something. So it felt urgent, and I think it still kind of is. I want to remain compliant with the state rules while we're figuring this out. My goal, I think to my knowledge, it is a little bit urgent on the legislation side because we need to have something in motion so that a decision can be made when they meet in January.
Yep.
So that's, I guess my goal is to see, plan A, keep it as it is if we can change the law. The law can't be changed in a reasonable amount of time, or it's appearing problematic and it doesn't look like a likely route. Plan B would be modify the sign in a way that balances all of the things. Plan C, which I'm hoping is really not going to happen, is obviously no one can agree and the sign cannot be modified for any reason and the sign is removed. And I'm really hoping that we can avoid that at all costs. So I guess those are my intentions.
Okay. I feel like everyone, I'd like it to stay if we can. I feel the same nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that's where I got all my English food every Christmas time.
Yay. That's so great.
What if on the hanging sign that said medical supplies oxygen, you probably consider this as well, saying no longer a pharmacy.
We
Just
hadn't
hanging right
considered-
there. You
Yeah.
have
I
considered
hadn't
it,
considered that. Our tenants had asked if they could put their logo there.
or that too.
But yeah, I think there's so many options. So I hadn't considered that, but I think that could be a great option. Thank you. I
Or like
appreciate
no
it.
longer working pharmacy. I don't know. Just as
Yeah.
a possibility, but also it makes more sense I can see the tenants wanting a sign as well. But if you're working on keeping it and that
Little
would
piece.
make it. And then if you change the sign and absolutely had to, worst case scenario, when you do the signs, you're not going to say place and building. It will all say the same word for what it is,
Yeah,
right? Like building, like B&H building or B&H mercantile for both signs. Okay.
Yeah, I think we wouldn't want it to be like conflicting wording.
Good.
So I think we're just kind of trying to figure out like, I love the flat sign with the cups, like,
Me too.
but we're just open to, if it's allowed to be modified, we'll come up with some images or some designs. And like I said, I am an owner of old things. I love the historical nature. And so my goal is to keep it as original as possible. Yeah, and we want it to look good and last for another 80 years. And hopefully never be problematic in the state's eyes ever again. So it can be kind of generic, but open to any suggestions. I know we just kind of looked at some general wording, but someone had recommended B&H and then building coming down the blade sign. And then we could just paint over the RX probably. If we absolutely have to remove the words. And then, yeah, I don't really know if we use building there, what we would do on the flat sign. What was that? Oh,
Or just probably whoever is, yeah.
yeah, if
Using
that's
it.
okay. I just, again, this is my first time meeting with you guys and I just wasn't sure if we could remove it and make it kind of plain.
What would be cool though is if they were willing in their logo to keep the same colors on drugs and then the B&H pharmacy down below. And they
Yeah.
just changed the
And the tricky
the
thing
lights
is,
to their
the
name.
tenants were looking at signing, or we're only signing like a 3-year lease. And so I think there's the possibility that over the next few years, until it finds maybe another more permanent tenant, there could be some turnover. And so we're trying to have something that would be flexible enough to where we don't have to modify the sign every time someone moves out. But we're kind of bridging this gap between the flexibility and the old school and all that. So it's a very difficult balance.
Sorry, just last thing, I was just gonna say, yeah, because if it's possible to keep the part that's coming out just like that always stays there and never leaves,
Mhm.
it, like, that's why I was thinking if you did put historic above it, if that's a way to keep, and then whoever then is using the building, then they would just have their name on the front part. Just that way, that could always stay that neon. Yeah, I love driving down Center Street and seeing that
I
at
know,
night, yeah.
Me too. So, and I guess if we know that modification is an option we have to go, then we'll, submit some proposals and then, but I think my goal is to remove the least amount possible, obviously. But we'll see kind of where that goes. Say that again?
Do you know what type of business they're hoping to start there?
We've had some amazing interest on people being on Center Street. It's been really fun, actually. The tenant we're discussing, I guess negotiating with now that has not been signed, is like a board game / like think Dragon's Keep. I think that's on University. Board game / game events. So they would have like a lot of tables and do like board game events. So I think it would be great to bring people to downtown and they could watch the events from the windows and, but we'll see. New, younger business. They have a location in Murray that's, quite successful. And so we're looking to just branch out, but again, short-term lease just to kind of try it out and see if Center Street is their permanent home. But we've had lots of other really great interest too. So any other questions? Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you. So I think this is the phase that we have discussion amongst the commission about next steps. Or we can potentially, sorry, go ahead.
There's no public comment.
Oh, yes. As there's no other members of the public for comment, we'll move into the discussion segment, of the hearing.
I guess we try to change the law or see how possible that is. And then if that's not possible, we see alternatives, right?
But in lieu of changing the law though, didn't you say that there might be another way? Like, is there somewhere that says if something is historic, no matter what, like you can keep it?
I especially don't think that's the case in this situation where the pharmacy could be confusing to someone in emergency. I think that's the
Mhm.
spirit of what they're going
Oh,
for.
someone in an emergency.
Yeah, they're looking for drugs. So, I think we just see what the state legislature has to say, if we can get a sponsor, any interest and we may have to modify it, put historic or formerly known as, I don't know.
Former, yeah, the former.
Yeah.
But it is some light modification, but I think the idea that we all are on board with is trying to keep as much of this as possible.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of understanding what the state is willing to do. And then if the state is willing to do something great, we can, plan accordingly. If the state is not, we also can plan accordingly.
Right. So I think in terms of today's business, I'd be in favor of continuing it while these options are explored.
Okay, is that
I'll make it into a formal motion unless there's more discussion. I move that we, in recognition of the city's recommendation, postpone this issue, continue this issue to a further meeting to allow for explorations of opportunities.
I second the motion.
Okay. Before we put it to a vote, do we need to stipulate how far into the future that we
Yeah, I was-
continue this, Dustin?
I was thinking, I didn't know whether 30, 60, 90. I don't know what the right time frame is, Justin.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to do that. I think, you know, you can just say, well, go ahead and continue it.
The motion.
Okay.
And then when she has something ready to bring back, we'll just go ahead and get it on the next available agenda. I think what will be helpful, and I'm sure she understood kind of what was discussed there, the preference. It might be helpful in the motion to say, you know, if there's no success in getting the law changed or that rule changed, what it is that you'd like to see her come back with, that maybe you'd be favorable of, if as a kind of a second option, you know, replacing just those specific words, pharmacy.
Minor
drugs.
modification of the sign is what we're looking for, I think, right?
Yeah, just to make sure that she has that clear direction, so she's not wondering where to invest time and money in new design or whatever to come back.
So. Yeah. Yeah. I move that we continue this item to a further meeting in order to explore both legislative action and potential minor modification to the historic sign, maintaining as much of the historic integrity as possible.
I second the motion.
All right. We'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 And any against? So that would be unanimous vote in favor to continue this item to a future meeting, to give the applicant time to explore legislative action, and also, if necessary, propose minor modifications to the sign, retaining as much of the historic nature as possible. Okay, with that, we can now entertain motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.